Hello, everybody. I know this is not the upper room. That's for Tuesday mornings with Pop and I. Pop isn't here tonight. Everybody's getting ready for VBS. We were supposed to have a pool party tonight, but it's way too cold to be swimming, and so we're going to let it warm up a bit before we have our swim party. But so we went ahead and canceled tonight, and here I am. I wanted to give this lesson. I like to give these opportunities for us even to dive into different portions of the Bible. So I'm glad that you're joining me. If you like it, share it with somebody. So we're just going to jump into our lesson tonight. I believe that stillness is the answer to all our situations. And I'm going to give you the whole meat here in a second, but it's the waiting upon God. It's the trust in God to help us navigate our life that is the secret. We oftentimes don't include Him. We oftentimes just kind of rush into things, and God's giving us clues. He's giving us cues not to go those places or to go other places, and we kind of ignore those. And so what's left is that we live this hypothetical life. And in fact, I'm a master at the hypothetical, okay? I've lived the incredible majority of my life taking refuge in hypothetical propositions that I say, okay, this could happen, so I have a hypothetical thing that could happen based on a situation. I could have an event happen, and so I have all these different hypothetical outcomes to this one act, okay? And so I engage in what ifs, and so and that's both directions. I engage in the what if behind me that says, what if I had not done this, or what if I had done this, then my outcome would be another than what I have it. So that's kind of using a hypothetical decision in the past for a hypothetical better situation that I'm in the future, okay? And so it's kind of regret. It's kind of if I hadn't have taken this job or married this person or said this or did that, then the outcome that I'm afraid of wouldn't be. So we have this look at the past with a hypothetical future. Then we have the question: what if this happens? What if I get cancer? What if I lose my job? What if I lose my house? We kind of had these different fears that we had. That we have propositions that we make, and those propositions have to have some kind of solution to them. So we have these hypothetical things like this. I calculate every possible pathway that these outcomes could come. And I know I'm talking to a lot of people, so I don't know very many people who don't do this, okay? That don't have some kind of calculating and looking at life in a hypothetical way. So like if A happens, then I will have a prescription. If B happens, I have a prescription. If C happens, I have an answer for this, and we play them out in scenarios in our minds. But to some people, it's not just A, B, C, but it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. We have these vast amount of possibilities because there's so much possibilities in our future. I think that's why I've always struggled with doom, like this presence of doom over my life, because there are things out there that are not tied up. They're not. I don't have a prescription for them, or it may not work out the way I want it to. And so a lot of these calculations are based, from the hypotheticals, based upon our experience. Some kind of imagination. We've imagined a future, and so it's a hypothetical thing. It hasn't happened, but we think it's going to play out like this, or interpretation or intuition, right? And sometimes I think that it's like seeking shelter. It's like seeking shelter from a thunderstorm in a pergola. Do you know what I mean? It's like we're hiding out under the possibility, but it's not stopping the rain. It's not helping us. And so I think it's interesting that we try to find shelter in a possible answer to a hypothetical situation, where we'll find rest if we have the perfect words to say, if we have the perfect plan, or what I call the perfect prescription, okay? So in us, because we have these events happen in our life, we have a compulsion to have a prescription for every proposition. Okay, the proposition is based on the hypothesis. If I lose my job, then what is my prescription? Or if this person says this to me, what is my prescription? So we have a prescription, and let me tell you what a prescription is a law, a rule, or a direction. So if so-and-so does this, I will counter. I will have this prescription. Or if this and that happens, then I have a prescription that will help me. And we do this with conversations all the time. You know, we think somebody's mad at us, so we play the script out, okay? And they're supposed to say this, and then we have a response to what they say. You know, we go into the boss and we plan out our speech with the boss, right? It's a hypothetical thing. We have no idea what he's going to do. We may have some idea, we may have some imaginative idea or intuitive idea, but the idea is that we don't know exactly 100% what's going to happen. And you know what happens? We have all these prescriptions for these possible scenarios. Okay, we've got them all out here. And then something else happens and we're unprepared, which that is possible. In fact, that I have found that happens more than not. Okay, what happens is I have a whole folder, I've got a whole file folder, a whole filing cabinet, you know, that I go through, and I look for a prescription for a certain circumstance, and they'll do exactly what's not in the filing cabinet. Okay, that's life. Okay, and most of these prescriptions are emotionally driven. Honestly, they're emotionally driven. They could be wild. You know, we can have all these scenarios, and we've planned out all these little prescriptions for those scenarios, and they can be wild. We could do things that are illogical. We can say things that would destroy our life, or they're unchristian. Why? Because we're trying to preserve something. Whether it's our station, whether it's our name, whatever, we're trying to preserve something, and we think if we have it all planned out that we can hit these hypothetical situations and overcome. And a lot of things are off limits to God's interaction or interference or intervention. Okay, let's use a more positive. You know, that we say, okay, X, Y, Z can happen, and I'm not factoring God into any of those. And what it does is it produces such emotions that it's hard for us to function in the now. Now, what I want to do is, with all that being said, okay, so we're seeking refuge, we're seeking shelter and strength in a hypothetical prescription. I have a problem, I have a proposition, and I have a prescription. And I'm just sitting there waiting for the boom to fall. I'm just sitting there waiting for the hammer to throw and to fall. And I think that some of us would just rather it fall. You know, if the end is going to come, bring it on. Then at least I know. Okay, so how do we handle this? Well, I want to look at a case study from Psalm 46. We're going to look at all of Psalm 46 tonight, try to wrap it up as quick as I can. But we're going to deal what I was talking about in the beginning. How is stillness an answer to these hypothetical situations, these hypothetical theories that we have, okay? So let's start off with the psalmist. The psalmist is one of the sons of Korah. He's a chief musician, or actually it's a son of Korah riding to the chief musician. He wants this to be put on to music. And he says this. He starts with the prescription. Watch this. He starts with the prescription. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. God is our refuge and strength. He is a very present, he makes a proposition. God is a refuge, he's a strength, he's present, he's real, he's relevant help. Okay, so he's not saying that, oh, God is, you know, this thing that's going to soothe me, but he's not going to really be relevant. He's not going to really help out. That's an unbeliever. That's an atheistic look. It's a deist look, actually. What a Christian looks at is that God is real. He's a present help, okay? And based on this proposition, see, he starts with a proposition, then he moves to the prescription. Watch this. He says, God is our refuge, our strength, a very present help in trouble. Proposition 2, verse 2. Therefore, we will not fear. So he writes a prescription based upon that proposition. He says, the proposition, the truth is this: God is a refuge, he's our strength, and he's a very real help in trouble. Therefore, here's the prescription: we will not fear. Okay, so he's almost doing it backwards to what we do. Okay, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay, so he says, proposition: God is a refuge, he's a strength, he's a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear. That's the prescription. Now, watch this. Now let's talk about the hypothetical. Even though the earth be removed. Now, this is extreme, okay? I want you guys to see this. Even if the earth would be removed, that's pretty far out there. That's pretty ultimate. He's saying, here's my proposition. God is a refuge. He's a strength. He is a very present help in trouble. I'm not going to be afraid, even if hypothetically the world would be removed, the earth would be removed. And though the mountains be carried in the midst of the sea, that would be pretty radical. If we saw that in our life, how could we not be afraid? I mean, we would have all kinds of hypotheticals for this. If the earth is removed, then I'm going to have to do this and that, and we have all these little prescriptions. Or if the mountains fall into the sea, then we need to move to higher ground, and we got to do all these prescriptions that humans do, especially Westerns. Then he says, though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. So we're talking about some cataclysmic events here, and he's already worked out the proposition. He's already worked out the prescription, okay? Even before the hypothetical, he's already got a proposition. His proposition is God is my refuge. I don't take shelter in my prescriptions. I don't take shelter in the hypotheticals. I take shelter in God, okay? That being said, then my prescription is this. I'm not afraid. Even if the worst happens, even if the absolute worst happens, earth being removed, mountains being thrown in the sea, these are radical things. And he says, even though I'm not going to be afraid. So that's how he does it. I wish that we could start off with this proposition. God is God. God is providential. God's will be done. These are things that are propositions that we are given in the Word of God. The problem is we're not writing prescriptions for them, and we're definitely not using them in our situations, okay? Now, listen. This doesn't how we go generally, okay? This isn't how we start. We start off with a problem. We start off with a situation or a story. Then we start a circumstance. Then we start calculating. We start doing our intuitive calculations. Okay, how's this going to play out? So if this is A, how does it look at D, right? And so then we start questioning if God's going to do something. Is God going to really come through, or I'm going to have to do this on my own? I think that's the second step. That's where we begin to calculate God's involvement. So here as Christians, we calculate God's involvement. I don't think lost people may not do this. They may say, oh, here's my problem. Here's how I'm going to solve this problem. Here's my calculations, even though it's hypothetical. We're not even talking about a real. We're not talking about sitting down and saying, okay, I have $100 in the bank and I need $100 of groceries or whatever. That's normal. That's you're not going to get around that. I'm talking about a hypothetical situation that we don't even know what's going to happen. Then the lost people don't factor God in. The pagans, they don't factor God in. They just go straight to the prescription. Okay, Christians, there's a little bit of this. It's a little more sanctified. It's a little more washed. We would say something like this: oh, this is the problem. How's God? And I may calculate first. I may do the calculations, the human calculations first. And based on this hypothetical situation, I may say, oh, God could do this. God could, and we begin to speculate, right? But then then the inevitable comes fear, anger, reactions. Our prescriptions are born of the flesh, and we act on them, and we react to things, and we don't really counsel with God. And we see this throughout history with God's people, is that they were presented with a problem, didn't seek God, and went out on their own. Their proposition was here's the problem, and we got to fix it, okay? And listen, I'm not saying that the worst will never happen. I'm not playing naivety here, okay? I'm not one of those persons that believe nothing bad will ever happen, okay? I've seen too much of bad things happening to good people that I don't have a theology that says, hey, listen, good people get away, they don't have any trouble, or God never puts anything on anybody they can't handle. I don't believe that at all. And your imagination may very well come to pass. You have a hypothetical situation, and the fear is coming. You find a lump, or your job is on the line, and you may get a pink slip. I'm not saying that that this is a solution here, okay, to the event itself, okay. It's my reaction to it. He says this: God is a refuge and a strength, a present help in times of trouble. Okay, listen, he's not saying that there will never be trouble. He's never said, he didn't even say that the earth will never be removed, or the earth will never, or the mountains will never fall into the sea. He never says any of that. He says God is a refuge for those times. That's the reality, okay? The reality is those things are going to happen because the world has been cursed because of Adam's sin, and it's falling apart, okay? That's the reason, all right? So he's basically saying this. He's not saying that I'm going to live a trouble-free life, or that my hypotheticals aren't going to come to pass. They may very well come. Your worst fear may come to true. The reality is when that happens, God is a refuge. Boom. That's the proposition. The proposition isn't, hey, we're never going to have any problems and everything's going to be all right. That is a lie. That's not the proposition. The proposition here, to start off, is God is our refuge. He's our strength. In times of trouble, he's a real present help. Okay? Right? We see that. I really want us to understand that this stillness doesn't make problems go away. I never said that. I never said stillness makes your problems go away. But it's in the problem that we find shelter. And I'm not finding shelter in my ideas or my prescriptions or my solutions, but I'm finding shelter in the presence of God. Okay? In the continual presence of God. Okay. Now, the present God, not just the presence of God, but the present God is important. Okay? Just hang with me. Let's look at verse 4. Psalm 46, these chairs are so squeaky. Dad and I are in the process of trying to get something different. If you hear the squeaking, it's the stupid chair I'm sitting on, okay? Verse 4, there is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacle of the Most High. Okay, God is in the midst. He says that, verse 5, God is in the midst of her. He himself is in the midst of the city and the church. He's in the midst of his people no matter where they are. No matter where that, he says the city here, which was the temple. Then we have the tabernacle. So we have two places that God's presence is with his people, right? Whether in the city, the country, no matter where. Wherever you are, God is in the midst of his people, all right? And he says this, it's the tabernacle, it's the dwelling place of the Most High. He is in charge. He is large and in charge. He said, God is in the midst of her. Now look at the language he uses. Okay, he says, she shall not be moved. Okay, this ought to be supreme consolation to us. This is where our breath ought to be breathed out, right? Okay, I'm going to show you that in a second. Well, yeah, hang on a second. He says this. He says that I'll say it now. There is a river whose streams shall make glad the city of God. Is the presence of God something that makes us glad? Even in the midst of the worst case scenario. Okay, now we just left this hypothetical that the earth would be removed and the mountains be thrown into the sea and the waters churn and there's quaking. Okay, even in the city of God, that God's presence, his indwelling presence, makes glad the heart of these people. All right, that the group, the community of people are glad because God is in the midst of her. And he says this, she shall not be moved. The earth would be moved. He just said that. What if the earth be removed? He says, yeah, if the earth be removed, but the people of God will not be moved. Look, he said, she shall not be moved. God shall help her just as the break of dawn. So he's saying this, the worst possible thing that can happen to you, you're not going to be moved. Even though the situation, the hypothetical, is out of control, the hypothetical is blown apart, relationships are shattered, the earth is falling apart. Your earth is falling apart. If Christ is with you, if God is in your presence, then you will not be moved, and he is your help. He doesn't say that you won't experience the shaking. What he says is you won't be moved. That's important, okay? Things may change. People may do things. People will do things according to their will. Maybe even according to God's will. Maybe God is allowing things to happen to bring us into a position where we are striving after him, right? That we have idols. Each one of us has an idol. We give attention, we give time, we give something to something other than God, and God breaks it, and he says, listen, even though we are shaken, we're not moved. And I think that's important. God is in the midst of her, she shall not move. How do I know that God is in the midst of my life? Because of the promise of Jesus Christ. He said, I will send you another comforter. I will ask the Father, and he'll give you another comforter, and he shall be with you and in you forever. So the reality is that God is not moved. God is not moving. If God is not moving, I'm not moving. Even though the earth is removed, that doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. What he says is the people will not be moved. He said, God will help her. He shall help her. Okay? He says, just as the break of dawn. Man, that is amazing to me. I've never seen that before. I've read this, I don't know how many times I've read Psalm 46. I can tell you I've never seen this pop out to me like here. Now I've read the words. My eyes saw them. They acknowledged them. But listen to this. He says, God shall help her as the break of day. I'm going to ask you a question. Now, granted, there are cloudy days, but there's never a day where the sun doesn't shine. Even though the sun is behind clouds and it's not as light as it was, the sun is still shining. Day has broken. All right. It doesn't matter if it's almost pitch black. The sun is shining out there. It's behind something. Okay. It's being obscured. Okay. So just as the sun rises, so does God help his people. You just got to wait. You just got to stop. You got to quit trying to work out all these hypothetical things, because you might miss the very solution that is necessary for you to do the thing you need to do. Our problem is our prescriptions become authoritative, and God's word, God's prescriptions are ignored. We think we have a better reaction to all kinds of scenarios, and that is erroneous. Okay? You're going to fail, okay, if you do this. Listen. He says, if everything falls apart, listen to the next verse. Though the nations raged, the kingdoms were again moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. If everything falls apart, everything is moved. Though he says, here he goes, the kingdoms were moved. The earth was melted by God's act. This isn't an act of nature. This is an act of God. God is, the kingdoms are coming against him. The earth, he's doing something in the earth, and it's scary, okay? But he says this. He says, even though these things, God is with us, okay? God may be bringing judgment upon the earth, and it may have an effect on us, but his shelter is sure. He is with us. He is with us. You need to say it 1,000 times a day. Keep telling yourself, man, God is with me. What a great consolation. What a strong consolation. That though things may fall apart, you may not have what you once had. Listen, there may be a day you may not have the money that you once had. I mean, you may spend all that money you worked for on your health, getting your health back, and you may be almost destitute, but God is still with you, right? Even if your worst case scenario happens, God is with you. And he says, the God of Jacob is our refuge. Why does he say the God of Jacob? Okay. This is important. These people don't just throw words around, okay? The God of Jacob. Think about what God and Jacob's relationship was. It was a blessed relationship. It was a beautiful relationship. It was, even though Jacob was a trickster, his name meant trickster, he was a cheater, but God was with him through the whole thing. He's with him through the Laban thing, through the wives thing, through the dysfunction of his family. God's favor never left him, okay? And Jacob continually sought refuge to God. In God, and God provided it for him. Okay? Yes, everything may change, but God, the God of Jacob, he does not change. He's the same God. The same God of Jacob is the God that's over your life. That doesn't change. The covenants may change. God's way of dealing with man has changed. I'm sorry, it didn't may. From Jacob to us, it's totally different. To the children of Israel, to Jacob, maybe it is more like us, because he was under a covenant of grace. And so here we are again under the covenant of grace, and God is our refuge. Listen, we need to stop taking refuge in things that don't provide refuge. I mean, the limitations and the failure of my ability to predict the future have brought me more pain than just waiting upon God. Wait on God, okay? Okay, let's is that what God says? Okay. Let's bring this thing down. Verse 8, I think it's just very powerful. 3 stanzas here. The third stanza is amazing. He says, come here. Change your attention. Come to this place. Okay, so the mountains are falling into the sea. The earth is being removed. Kingdoms are raging. Kingdoms are being toppled. The earth is melting. And the psalmist goes, hey, come. Hey, look here. Look at this. Come. Now, what does he say? Come, behold the works of the Lord. Come, behold the works of the Lord. This is where stillness is so powerful. If I still myself and start looking at what God does instead of what people do. Listen, people do things, but God does greater things. We can look at the works of man. We can look at the works of Adam. My goodness, we see the works of Adam all around us. But it wasn't the works of Adam that are more powerful than the works of Jesus. Look what Adam and the people of Adam and the wickedness and the dark people couldn't stop Jesus from accomplishing salvation. Do you realize that? No will of man could stop God from accomplishing his own will. Yeah? What's his name? Herod? Not Herod. Herod couldn't kill him off. God took him to Egypt, right? Other Herods couldn't kill him. The Pharisees couldn't lay hands on him. They couldn't stop him. The devil couldn't even stop him from giving up his post, right? Because that was the will of the Father, okay? who, what works are you looking at? He said he's made desolations on the earth. He makes war cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in two. He burns the chariots in fire. Listen, basically what he's saying is here, he's saying even though war come and war is bad, war is terrible. We in this country haven't seen war like in our soil. I don't think that there's anybody out here who lived in the Civil War. Maybe some people who feel like it. But we've never seen it on our own soil. We always send people away to go fight these wars. But war in your world, war around you is a traumatic, terrible thing. I was actually, I watched a thing on the Battle of Verdun, the slaughterhouse of Battle of Verdun. Made me sick to my stomach. Also made me think this, that I've never really suffered. I've lived a blessed, graced life. But I look at that and I say, man, people in this time, 800,000 people died in that battle. It lasted 10 months. And it's like, what an effect that had on a culture. And here he's saying, listen, God is causing these things to cease in a world. Quit panicking. Look at the power of God. Look at the peacemaking power of God, okay? Whose work are you looking at? When you are hypothetical, situationally focused, what are the works you're looking at? You say, well, I know the system. This is how the real world works. Okay, I'm sorry. I disagree with that. I disagree with that categorically. This is not how the world works. This may be how it has worked in small little areas, but the world works in the way God has ordained it to work, okay? There's plenty of source material, okay? Right? I mean, if we look at the Bible, that's our main source material, isn't it? We believe it's inspired. Okay, in that we see providence after providence after providence after providence. You know, the mercy of God played out in people's lives. History, my goodness, we look at the history not only of God's people, but the history of the world. God is moving and shaking. I listened to a World War II guy who was on the USS Indianapolis. It was a very graphic story. I wouldn't suggest listening to it because what had happened was a ship was torpedoed and it went down. And 900 men went into the water, and like 150 or something like that came out because of the sharks. And I'm going to leave it at there. Use your imagination. And here's this man recounting the providence of how God rescued him. And I'm sitting there and I'm weeping and I'm thinking, yeah, some people perished, all right? The worst case scenario in here for this man, this was God's providential hand upon his life. Worst case scenario, be in the water with sharks eating people. That's terrible. I mean, few of us have been in that situation. And yet here's a man calling out to God and believing that his only shot was God. And boom, the providential move of God to get them there. It's tremendous. I'm in awe of God. See, those are the things I want to reflect on. I'm tired of reflecting on the failures of life and the experience I've had that is limited to seeing that, yeah, bad things happen, but God is faithful. God is big. God is providential. Listen what he says. He says, behold the works of the Lord. We need to start setting these first. My own personal experience, I can tell you, I've seen God do amazing things, crazy things, awesome things. Even though there were failure, I thought they were failure, God turned it around for good. But that's my experience. And you know, I mean, the only way for you to really know that is to get inside my skull and see it through my eyes, and you weren't there, but that's okay. Sure, the world is in chaos, but God is working in it and through it. That's what he's saying. He's saying war is chaos, but God is working in it. He's working us through it. He's going to get us on the other side. But he says this, stop your warring. Stop the striving. He says, be still and know that I am God. All right? Stop this striving. Stop this hypothetical chaos and madness. It's driving you crazy, right? Stop the hypotheticals and convert to know God. He says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. What a refrain. He's keep coming back to this, cranking this out, saying, listen, God says, I will be exalted. I will be exalted on the earth. I will be exalted in the nations, right? Because why? Because he's with us. He is in the battle. Listen, no matter what we are going through, and I'm going to tell you what, these last couple of years with the orphanage, man, I have learned the providential hand of God. I keep preaching the providential. I've seen crazy things. Who is exalted? Not me. I didn't do it. It was God that did it. Now, my hypotheticals were all over the place. You know what I mean? And some of the things came true, but God was always triumphant. All right? What I want to challenge you to do is stop making hypotheticals your refuge. right? It isn't preserving you. It's not helping you out. It's making you crazy, right? And I can say that. What we need to do is make the proposition that God is with us, that the God of Jacob is our refuge. Man, you know what you need to do? This is an opinion, a suggestion from your pastor. Take that last line, write it down, and pray it until your lips fall off. I mean, make it a part of your prayer. Make it a part of your conversation. Put it on your mirror. Put it in your face. Get this thing. I have 14 now, 15 things I read every day that are propositions that keep me centered. I have to do them 2 or 3 times a day. I got to be honest. I repeat them over and over again. The first one is that Jesus Christ is the one who forgives my sin. It's the Jesus prayer. Jesus Christ, Son of God, have mercy upon me, a sinner. And then I go on down through Scripture, and this one is going to be number 15. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. That is my proposition. What is my prescription? I will not fear. Even though there's hypotheticals happen, what matters is the truth, okay? So I hope that I've helped you out. Maybe you are a better hypothetical person than I am. Hey, listen, we need to surrender that. We need to quit doing that. Hypotheticals will drive you crazy. You'll never be able to plan perfectly for every hypothetical scenario you have. So the best thing to do is operate under the proposition that the Lord of hosts is with you. Be still. I believe this. If we would be still, we would catch the cues and the clues God has for us. He does it. Sometimes we say things like this. Well, God was kind of laying that on my heart not to do it, but I went ahead and did it. You may not have known it was God, but you could have known it was God. How do we separate that? We separate it by being still. We find a place, we be still. What is one thing that's, what do we still? I tell you what, I'm gonna tell you, I live in a noisy valley. I can't still the noise. What I can still is the noise. I can still the hypotheticals and say, you know what, doesn't matter how this plays out, God is going to be still God. No matter how that scenario ends, God will still be God, and he will still have his hand upon my life, and he will still bring it to pass. God bless you guys. Come out this week. We've got VBS. We eat at 5:30. Stick around, and then we begin to study. Kids, they're going to have a great study on Joseph, which is great, what I'm talking about. Man, terrible things happened to Joseph, but God brought him through. Providence. Adults have 2 parts. We haven't figured out who's going to go first, but Dad and I are going to do 2 separate things. He's going to talk about the life of Joseph. I'm going to talk about mercy. God bless you guys and have a great week.